thunder. A presence that draws crowds from far and wide. The next generation.
Welcome to Hide and Seek TV. I'm about to get ready to do a very deep breakdown concerning the recent playoffs that just went down with the second round, and I'm gonna explain why the matchups are going down currently with the select teams. So what I want to talk about right quick, obviously, as we know, you just had the Hawks defeat the 76ers, and we already know the Bucks beat the Nets. You know what I'm saying? The Clippers beat the Jazz, and Suns obviously beat Denver. Now I'm gonna talk about this, and I'm gonna really delve deep, like I've been breaking down about this Kobe ritual and how deep this stuff goes. It goes deeper than just beyond sports, because everything is leading to what the ultimate agenda is. Like I was talking about 1,000 times already in my previous NBA video. Written in First Maccabees 1:14, so they built a gymnasium in Jerusalem according to Gentile custom, and removed the marks of circumcision and abandoned the holy covenant. They joined with the Gentiles and sold themselves to do evil. So I want to break this down to y'all, because when you understand these sports, like I've been talking about it, I remember when I was mentioning about what was it, the Ravens versus the Giants back in 01. Then you had the whole situation with the 9/11 and all of that, because you know the Raven represented what the whole thing. A Raven represents nothing but seeing the future. Like remember the That's So Raven theme, and then the Giants represented the towers, and you see how all of that went down. But anyway, what I've been talking about, like these sports are used to usher in agendas, man. And when you understand the role Kobe Bryant played, which is very significant, because I'm going to break it down real deep in this video. I want y'all to just bear with me. I'm going to take it real slow on y'all, because this knowledge like this, man, only those who able to comprehend this, because like I said, we not meant to think like this. They don't want us understanding things on this level. They want us to be nullified, distracted, and led astray. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm going to talk about in this video is obviously, like I said, you had the Hawks versus the 76ers. And as we know that as it's written that the Messiah is as the hawk, as the eagle, and that he mounteth high above all. And when you understand the 76ers hint the Church of Philadelphia, like I've been breaking that down, that that the one who has the key to the house of David will be able to open the kingdom. Only people who are allowed to enter into the kingdom will enter, and those who can't would not be able to enter. But when you understand this, the 76ers, obviously the Hawks beat the 76ers. Notice that the Hawks practically are like mounted higher than all, because when you understand it, that it's written in Isaiah 19:19, in that day there should be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof to the Lord, and it shall be for a sign and for a witness unto the Lord of hosts. And Colossians 2:17, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Christ. When you understand the 76 degrees, that's where the shadow is casted. Hint the time to come, the kingdom to come. And when you understand that, this is why the Illuminati pyramid does not have a 76-degree headstone, because as it's written in scripture, that the stone which the builders, aka Masons, refuse has now become the headstone of the corner. This is why the Hawks had to beat the 76ers. And I'm going to get deep on this video. And I'm going to get into the Bucks. You remember the Bucks? I'm going to explain them later on. But obviously the Bucks beat the Nets. You know what I'm saying? And when you got it too, you got the Jazz obviously lost to the Clippers. And you got the Suns, like I said, beat Denver, my fault. So when you understand that anyway, when you understand the LA Clippers and why they had to beat the Jazz, remember back in 2016, the Jazz was the Lakers' Kobe's last game. And when you understand the Jazz, obviously that represents the trumpets of Revelation. So when you understand this right here, which is so deep, the LA Clippers, obviously, like I broke this down before, got their names from the ships that used to sail through the San Diego Bay. You know what I mean? So when you understand that, them beating the Jazz, just hear me out. As it's written, again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a merchant man seeking goodly pearls. You see that? And the whole theme of them playing against the Jazz represents what? For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God, and the dead and Yahushua shall rise first. Because the whole theme of that, of blowing the horn, represents nothing but the Messiah and everything coming into fruition. And we got to understand the role that Kobe Bryant is playing. You feel me? Through that's why he's obviously they do the Philadelphia. Remember, he lived in Rome. Remember the Romans and the Messiah. You know the whole theme of that with the crucifixion. You know, and as it's written that those who pierced him shall see him again. And remember, when I was saying how Kobe lost to the Detroit Pistons back in 03, and how Blake Griffin came from the Pistons and joined the Nets, because that represented those who saw him who pierced him shall see him again. I'm gonna break that down with the Nets in a minute. But when you obviously understand that, like I said, the ship with the Clippers got their name from a ship, from the ships. Hint that the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant, aka those who sell the ships, seeking goodly pearls. So you see how they had to play against the Jazz, because that represent the whole theme of the Messiah being called out to sea. Because as you represent this in 2nd Ezra 13, that the man waxed strong with thousands of heaven, and when he turned his countenance to look, all the things that trembled were seen under him. You feel what I mean? This is talking about the Messiah. And when you understand it in 1352, like as thou cannot see nor know the things that are in the deep of the sea, even so can no man upon earth see my son or those that be with him, but in the day and time. You feel me? How all of this comes together. That's why they had to play against the Jazz, because that represent everything coming to be revealed. And we got to remember the time of the Antichrist is high on the horizon. Everything is going to be amping up. You feel me? Because we got to understand that it's going to be the one who comes to deceive and lead astray from the one who's speaking the truth. Hint, the thief in the night. You feel me? So when you understand this right here, this is so deep, because obviously, as remember I was talking about on the first video. Remember, well, I think part 7, if I'm not, yeah, part 7. Remember, the Sixers obviously were number 1 at the top of the East. The Suns were obviously number 2 over there in the West. You know what I mean? And remember, like I was talking about it, that the cast in the shadow at the 76 degrees, obviously the light, at the 76 degrees, because when you understand the sun burns at the temperatures of 5,776, hence the 76. So you understand that how all of this comes together, there's just no way around it. Because remember, as it's written, so they shall fear the name of the Lord from the west, hint that Phoenix suns, and his glory from the rising of the sun. That's why over there the suns were ranked number 2, because that represents the rising of the sun. You see that? And remember how I was already talking about this, and the kingdom of heaven is like unto a merchant man seeking the goodly pearls. That's why the Clippers are battling against what? Against the Suns, because it all goes back to the that the fear of the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory rising from the sun. You see that? All of this stuff comes together, and it's just about, like I said, if you got the eyes to see, I hope you do, because we got to know what's going on, man. Everything is coming together, and there's no way around it. Hence why Solomon Hill is over there in Atlanta, and I'm gonna break him down, because when you understand as it's written, remember in the scriptures in John 19:32-34, then came the soldiers and brake the legs of the first and of other which was crucified with Yahushua. And when they came to the Messiah, they saw that he was already dead. They brake not his legs, but one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, forthwith came there out blood and water. And remember, the guy who did this with the spear against the Messiah was what? His name was Lance. Remember, I think I did that on part 1 or part 2 when I was talking about why LeBron James had to battle with Lance Stevenson. Remember when Lance Stevenson was blowing the wind in his ear and all of that crap? And then remember how he ended up playing with LeBron years later on the Lakers? Remember that? All of this stuff comes together, man. Those who pierced him shall see him. And when you obviously have your lungs pierced, you can't breathe. Hint the I can't breathe, George Floyd. Hint the whole woke aspect with the NBA. Oh, I can't breathe. All of this stuff is just blasphemy. And remember back in 2013, Kobe had got that injury. I remember this well, because I remember watching this game live. And pay attention. You see, obviously, you got the Time Warner All-Seeing Eye over there right by 94, by the Hawks, by the scoreboard right here. You got the All-Seeing Eye, because remember, those shall witness the Son of Man. Remember that they shall see him. I broke that down about Jordan, I think, on part 1 or part 2. But remember, Kobe, obviously, like I said, playing the Son of Man, playing a role out of Philadelphia, aka the Church of Philadelphia. And look at this right here.
He's one-on-one with Dante Jones. Bryant rises, shoots, misses. He's on the floor. Korver has...
You see that right there? The leg injury, right? You see that? Remember, I was just breaking down about Genesis 3:15. Remember that the Messiah would use his heel to crush the head of this kingdom. You know, the whole theme of bringing the great authority, bringing a new kingdom, crushing the head via the heel. Remember that the enemy should be made thy footstool. So when you pay attention to that, this was against the Hawks that this happened. You know what I mean? And remember when I was talking about the Messiah being revealed through the sea. Remember, hint the Lakers, the lakes, you know? And when you understand and look at that injury right there, and look at what happened with your boy Solomon Hill with LeBron. Pay attention, same injury. Pay attention to this.
The key components to the Lakers winning a title. LeBron, ooh, down
right there, both got the leg injury. Hint the Solomon Hill. Because when you understand Solomon Hill, remember through Solomon, the kingdom of heaven had split. I mean, you know, the kingdom of Israel, has split into the north and southern, became a north and southern kingdom, the two kingdoms. Remember that through the great judgment. And remember the whole thing, obviously, when you understand the leg and the ankle injuries, all that tie up to is the beast out the sea. You know what I'm saying? The whole theme of the Antichrist and the whole Roman Empire. You see that right there, the legs and the feet. You know what I mean? Iron mixed with clay. All that goes back to the Roman Empire, the whole theme of that, you know, bringing forth New World Order. So you see why Solomon Hill had to be the one that did this, because when you understand the Solomon anyway, hint this right here. Dude played for Miami Heat. And you remember I remember him well because he came from Indiana. But you notice how he went to Grizzlies, Pelicans, and the Heat, and he wore number 44. Because when you understand the number 44 to 44, all that goes to is the Ark of the Covenant of the Most High. Remember that. And as it's written anyway, and the temple of God was open in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament. Hint the 44. And remember, Solomon was the one to build the temple in the ancient times. You see this? And notice how he became number 18 when he went to Atlanta, because when you understand the number 18, all that deals with is the Messiah. You know, coming into consciousness, high consciousness. Coming into, you know, understanding. You feel me? This is why in Revelation, in receiving the Spirit, this is why in Revelation, in Luke 11:31, while you got Solomon Hill over there in Atlanta, remember I said the hawk is a representative, you know, a symbol of the Messiah being mounted up high. When you understand Solomon Hill, in Luke 11:31, and the queen of the south shall rise up in a judgment with the men of this generation and condemn them, for she came from the utmost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and behold, a greater than Solomon is here. Behold, a greater than Solomon is here. That all comes into the Messiah. You know what I mean? This is why they got Solomon Hill over there, man. After he just had the number 44, are you kidding me? And remember how he come from the Heat too, because remember the Heat, that represents the Messiah. Like I broke this down with LeBron and all of them with the Miami Heat. I broke them down already. Chris Bosh with the lungs. You know how his career ended with the lung issue, because with the blood clots, remember I was already breaking down a spear through the lung, you know, when the crucifixion happened, hint that I can't breathe. But when you understand the Heat, the under theme of the Heat represent the Messiah being like as if he was burnt in the furnace. You know what I mean? The bronze, you know, looking as if he was a bronze, like burnt bread. You feel me? So this stuff is deep. Pay attention to the Bucks. Remember I said I was going to get into the Bucks on y'all. I'm about to break this down with the Nets. And that was a very serious situation we witnessed right before our eyes. Because if you remember, during the Orlando bubble, remember you had the protocol. Remember that? And when you understand the protocol they was going through to get into the bubble, all that goes back into the Kobe thing. Remember I said how the Messiah has the key to the house of David, and how he has the key to, he rises up in the church of Philadelphia with the key of David to open the kingdom to those who are meant to enter, and lock it to those who cannot enter, the ones who are going to be on the outside of the gates. When you understand this, hint the whole theme of the Orlando bubble of what that represented, man. Everything comes together. That's why they had to go through the protocol and all of that to say they was able to play in the game. You know what I mean? All of the stuff of going through the procedures to make sure that they was able, they don't have nothing contracted, whatever. Ray. I ain't gonna really go into it, but the whole theme of that, the elect, You know, the chosen who were able to, you know, enter, and the others who, the teams who didn't enter. That's why this year they had the play-in tournament, because that all represent those trying to get into the kingdom. You feel me? The play-in tournament, you know, has it's written that, you know, that you would have to prove yourself, you know, whether it's through death, whether it's through the works, etc. You know what I'm saying? All of this stuff comes together. And when you understand the bubble anyway, the bubble is what? A bubble is obviously like transparent. And we already know that the kingdom of heaven looks as if it was transparent glass. Hence the Orlando bubble. And all of this was to commemorate Kobe. Remember the lake of fire theme? Remember how, as it's written, that the Messiah is as the bronze serpent, as if he was burnt in a furnace. Hence the lake of fire. Lakers versus Heat. The lake of fire. And Kobe. You feel me? All of that commemorated Kobe to be the son of man, to ordain him to lead this all out. You know what I'm saying? This is why it was a movie back in the day, back in like 2006. It's actually on Netflix. You know, it's something y'all can go check out if you ain't seen it. It's called Population 436. And what the movie was about, you know, basically once you go to that town, you know, the town had to stay at a specific number of 436. And once you go to that town, you couldn't leave. You were bound there forever. And they said that it was by the will of God. And if you left, you would die via the storm. You know, you would die in a car crash. And you obviously see the license plate right here of the sheriff. It's KBR, hint Kobe Bryant, and it's 824. You know, everybody out here know Kobe wore 828 and he became number 24. We all know that. This is 2006. And this is the year actually that Kobe dropped 81 on Toronto Raptors. And remember when I was breaking it down, how Toronto Raptors represent what? The Raptor represent nothing but the beast. You feel me? It represents nothing but the beast of Revelation, the dragon. You know what I'm saying? And when I was talking about the Hawks, hold on, let me get to the point right quick. Remember in Israel, like I remember during the time of the Nets, the Bucks with the Nets, my fault. In Exodus 15:22, remember Israel was like as the deer in the wilderness. Remember that, to enter into the promised land after the Exodus. Remember. And what this represent is the whole theme of when you understand the Nets versus the Deers, you know, the Bucks, all that represented was nothing about like, you know, going through the persecution. Remember, as it's written in Revelation 2:10, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation in those days. You see the deer in the net. You feel me? The deer in the net. And notice they going against the Hawks, because when you understand the hawk, like you know, all that represents the Messiah, as it's written that God will cover you with his feathers, will protect you under his great wings, like a bird protecting its young. His faithfulness will form a shield around you, a rock solid wall to protect you. You see that? This is why the Atlanta Hawks, you see how it says that the shield to protect you, a rock solid wall. This is why Atlanta Hawks play at the State Farm Arena. Hint the insurance, the protection, man. This is not by mistake, y'all. It's not. You feel me? None of this is by mistake. Hint this right here.
It was fine. We actually hit a deer.
What?
Yeah.
Is it dead?
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrible. Are you guys alright?
Yeah, it just struck us out.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere. We got it pretty good.
Yeah, it must have freaked you out big time.
Freaking weird. Well, you know what I say? I say one down, a couple 100,000 to go.
You feel me? You see that whole thing of the great persecution in the wilderness, Israel going through what? Going through the whole thing, you know, as we're entering the kingdom, the new kingdom is coming. All of this is representing is everything, you know, basically trying to make it to the kingdom. Remember, I already said that the sons represent that the rising, you know, that the rising of the sun, you know, and that should be, you know, feared from the west. So you see how the deer, aka the Bucks, are in the east, obviously trying to make it to the you know, into the theme of what? Entering the kingdom. Hint the light of God, the sons. You see that? How deep this stuff goes? None of this stuff is by mistake, man. None of it. Let's delve deeper into this, man. Remember, for those who remember the Super Bowl, remember you had that this year. Remember you had the Chiefs already broke that down with the Buccaneers representing nothing but bringing you know, chaos and destruction upon the native people, you know what I mean, with the skull and bones Masonic fraternity, the whole aspect of the order, New World Order, just keep it simple. But you see how the guy was running around with Revelation 2:10 on his chest. Remember, I just read that about the deer and about the Revelation 2:10. You see that? None of this stuff, it all adds up, man. It all adds up. Hence why Kobe was obviously called the Black Mamba. You remember that? Kobe was called the Black Mamba. And as it's written in scripture that the Messiah is as, you remember, as Moses lifted up the bronze snake on a pole in the wilderness, so shall the Son of Man must be lifted up so that everyone who believes in him will have eternal life. Hence the whole theme of the Bucks versus the Hawks. Because as I was mentioning, remember, into the church of the angel in Philadelphia, these things say, if he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth, and no man shutteth, and shutteth, and no man openeth. Hint, like I was talking about the bubble, all saying, you know, they entering into their new world order, their new world kingdom, and Kobe is their God. You feel me? Hence why the Denver Nuggets had to lose against the Suns, because, you know, Denver obviously is the Mile High city, hint like Mount Zion, and hint the sun like the light on top of the Mount Zion. Remember, the Messiah is the light upon the Mount Zion, the top of the hill. And when you understand that, that's why they sponsor with Western Union. You know what I'm saying? And when you understand Western Union, hint the whole theme of the westernized world, one world order. You feel me? Let's get deep, man. Jokic, aka the Joker, you know, obviously playing in that playoffs against the Suns. And when you understand the whole theme of the Joker, all of that goes to is the whole theme of the great Riddler, the great deceiver. Hence Barack Obama, remember during the Time magazine back when he first got elected. Well, it was about to get elected. I think it's like a year or so before. Yeah, like a year or two before. Hint the Time magazine with Barack Obama as the Joker. You see that? And when you remember that year too, Heath Ledger had died. Remember that year that Obama was getting elected? Heath Ledger died that January. You feel what I'm saying? And when you understand the whole theme of the Riddler, all that goes to is the whole what? The whole theme of the Great Sphinx. You know, solving the riddle. And if you can't solve the riddle, death shall come upon thee. You feel me? You know what I mean? All of this stuff comes together. That's why Obama's zodiac is the Leo. You know, I'm sorry to cover that 1,000 times. You can go check out my Name of God video. But when you understand this too, hint the Phoenix Suns. This is a deep thing. Phoenix Suns play at the Talking Stick Arena. And they used to be American US Airways. You know, that's what they were before, but now they're the Talking Stick Resort Arena. And when you understand the whole theme of that, hint Airways, and now it's the Talking Stick, because remember, as it's written, that Satan is as the prince of air. And you see the whole theme of the Talking Stick. And then you can look at it too, because in Revelation 12, remember that the Messiah is born and he is caught up into the throne of God, aka the Jetson. You know what I mean? The airway, caught up into the throne of God. And that's why I become the Talking Stick, because remember that the Messiah will hold the rod. And hint the talking stick, the rod is the word of God. You see that? Hint why the Bucks arena, the Preserve arena. All that is all Preserve represents anyway. All that is nothing but like a great theme of the merchant acquiring, bill payments. It all deals with banking. And remember that as it's written in scripture, that the kingdom of heaven, you know, store your treasures in the kingdom of heaven and not on earth. That's why the Bucks are playing against the Hawks, trying to go to the finals and go against the, you know, possibly the Suns, etc. Just saying it, like throwing it out there. But when you understand that, that's all that represents, trying to reach the kingdom of heaven. And then when you look at it, you see they got 44,000 employees. Remember, I was already breaking down about the number 44, the Ark of the Covenant. You see that? It's no way around. It's no way around this stuff, bruh. There's no way around it. You know what I mean? All of this stuff comes together. Remember, I was talking about the Atlanta Hawks represents the insurance, the State Farm, the protection, and then you got the Bucks arena representing like the kingdom of heaven. You know, the great, you know, banking and things of that nature. Come on, man. Hint the Staples Center and the Talking Stick arena. Staples Center don't represent nothing but the whole theme of the headstone, the staple, the headstone. You see that? All of this comes together. That's why their capacity at the Staples Center is 21,000 people. Because when you understand the number 21, the 21 represents nothing but what? The 21 represents the whole theme of the Messiah being revealed. That's why I was already talking about this before, about Drew Holiday wearing number 21, Joel Embiid wearing number 21. The 21, all of that goes to 777. And then you got the theme of the 21 representing the 21st century. Remember, I was already reading it about the man out the sea being revealed in that day and time. Hence why the Lakers and the Clippers play in the same arena. The Clippers represents the ship, and the whole theme of the Lakers represents the sea. That's why you got the Clippers in the playoffs right now, going against the Suns. And what I want to talk about, I'm gonna take it deep on y'all, because what I noticed right quick, obviously we got Kobe with his daughter Gigi, and you know that Vanessa is obviously her mother. And if you remember the movie back in the day, Cradle to the Grave, I'm gonna get real deep on this because I got a lot that I'm about to cover with this. If you remember Cradle to the Grave, you remember DMX was trying to get his daughter Vanessa. And I'm about to show y'all some deep stuff, man. I'm going to play the clip right quick and I'm going to chime on in. The movie was about getting the stones. Remember that. And remember, I already read that the Messiah is the headstone. And as you can see, you got a greenish emerald color, because all that represents, as we know anyway, that the kingdom of heaven is as what? As Emerald City. You know what I mean? Hint Wizard of Oz. You feel me? And as we know that the Messiah is as what? He is the rock. He is the stone. So pay attention to this.
Scud. That's a few city blocks gone. Hiroshima.
You see how he's talking about bringing forth destruction via the stone? Because as we know anyway in scripture in Revelation 13:13, and he doeth great wonders so that he make a fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Because all that's going to represent the great destruction via the fire, and then what comes forth? The Emerald City, the new kingdom. Pay attention to this right here. Listen to this.
New World Order.
You feel what I'm saying? And all that represent is nothing but the whole theme. They swapped the role and made it look as if it was evil. Like, you know, the whole theme is like, okay, you know, they trying to destroy this world, you know what I mean? And they protecting the world. But all that role DMX was playing was the Kobe Bryant role, trying to say that they rising up their false messiah to try to lead the people, you know what I mean, away from the kingdom that's coming. They want to extend this kingdom. You know, they already know everything is coming to pass, but they just trying to like gather up as many souls as possible. Because obviously, if you remember the movie, you had Jet Li and you had DMX. Remember, it's called Cradle to the Grave, obviously being born to die. That's all it's saying. And you got Jet Li and you know, DMX, the Asian, and the obviously the so-called black man. You feel what I mean? And the so-called Asian. So when you look at it in Revelation 16, remember that the kings of the east, aka the Asians, will be, you know, prepared to bring forth. What does it say? And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. You know, for these spirits are devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to battle of that great day of the Almighty, and go against the saints of God. You see that? The Armageddon. Gather them into the Armageddon. Enter the dragon. That's why they had to have that connection. The Asian and the so-called black man, so-called Asian. Remember, Kobe, obviously China was like his second home. Remember? He had a great legacy in China. You know that. You know what I'm saying? All of this stuff comes together. And when you understand it, what I want to talk about right quick, I'm going to get deep because I'm going to delve into that later on. I'm going to talk about Kobe a little more, but I want to delve into this right quick. You know, you got your boy David Stern. Remember, Kobe allegedly died, January 26th? David Stern died January 1st, 2020. And you see, obviously, his parents' name is William and Anna. And remember, I've been breaking this down for a while now. The name William derives from what? Exodus 3:14. You know, when the Most High told Moses, my name is I am that I am. Hint, the will of I am. This stuff is repetitive, and I'm going to show y'all. Hint David Stern, obviously, as we know, was the obviously was the last NBA commissioner. And remember, he died at what, 77? Hint David Stern and then King David died at 70 years old. You see that? And I'm about to prove my point, because remember, through David comes what? The Messiah. You know what I mean? Hint the whole theme of Kobe. You see that? Kobe Bryant allegedly dies January 26th, which is 25 days later. You know? And you see that right there. That day was the 33rd Royal Rumble in WWE, the same day Kobe allegedly dies. And as we know, as it's written, that we wrestle not against, physical flesh, but against spiritual principalities in higher places. Hence the whole theme of Kobe, all of the Royal Rumble and everything going on the day of Kobe allegedly dying. And you remember, as it's written, because look, through David comes what? The Son of Man. Remember, as it's written, in the key of the house of David will I lay upon his shoulders, so he shall open and none shall shut, and he shall shut and none shall open. Kobe is being used for what? Kobe is being used for this, obviously, the new world order. You feel what I mean? Hint the NBA bubble. Kobe has the key to open it and the key to shut it. Hint the play-in tournament, gathering up more souls, and the whole theme of the you remember, like I was breaking it down about the Grizzlies versus the Warriors. All that represented was nothing but, like, the death of the saints. Like as it's written in scripture, that the beast shall be as have the feet of a bear, and that it shall devour much flesh in that day. Hint the persecution of the saints, the Deers versus the Nets, the Bucks versus Nets, my fault. So you see that. Hint Adam Silver replaced David Stern. And Adam, as it's written anyway, is as what? That the Messiah is the second Adam. You see that? As it's written, that the Messiah is the second Adam. And when you understand the silver anyway, as we know, all the silver represents, as it's written in Psalms 12:6, and the words of the Lord are pure words, as silver tried in the furnace of earth, purified 7 times. You feel me? And then remember, during the time of Judas, remember that the Messiah was sold out for the pieces of silver. Remember that. So all of this comes together. This is why Adam Silver's son, or I don't know if it's son or daughter, Louis Burns Silver. Louis Burns. Now remember, I was talking about the name Louis. The Louis stone is the headstone that the Masons reject to use. Remember, I read that. The stone which the builders, aka Masons, reject to use has now become the headstone in the corner. Hint no headstone, and hint must, the 76 degrees being a Louis stone. So you see that the Louis Burns, because as it's written, that Louis, aka the Messiah, his feet like unto fine brass, as if they were burnt in the furnace, and his voice as the sounds of many waters. You see how they did this? This is crazy. Notice now you got what? You got you notice right now you got what, 3 black coaches, I think, in the right now coaching in the playoffs. You got, you had it with the Suns with Monty Williams, you got it with the Hawks, and you got it with the Clippers, with Tyronn Lue, hint Lewis. But anyway, you see how you got that all connected together? And you see how it's talking about now the NBA want more so-called black men coaching, because as we know, remember I was talking about this, as we know, we switching from being under the Jewish into going into the true rulership of the what? Of the so-called black Messiah. You know what I mean? The true living king. You know what I'm saying? We're switching. Everything is going from being under Jewish into coming under the true Jew, the true king. Hint why Jake from State Farm is no longer the so-called, alleged white man, but now it's becoming what? You have Jake, hint Jacob, the 12 tribes of Israel. All of this stuff is coming together, because remember, through the tribes of Israel, the nation shall cleave, and then shall come what? The new world, the true new world order, the new kingdom. Everyone serving the true living God, those who make it. That's why they had Kobe. Obviously, remember I was already talking about it earlier, about Kobe with the NBA bubble. You feel what I'm saying? All of this comes together. That's why the Lakers had to beat Denver, because remember, obviously, the Western Union. You feel me? All of this comes together, y'all. Hint Kobe Obviously, war number 8 and Shaq war number 34. You know what I mean? And when I did a breakdown, looked at that, 843, just switch the number around. 843 is what? South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina. Hint why this year you had the Kwame Brown and the Charlemagne, because Charlemagne is from Charleston as well. You see that? And I already did a breakdown on him. You can go check him out on my Kwame Brown. I did a deep breakdown. And remember, Chadwick Boseman is from South Carolina. You feel me? And I did a breakdown too on Kobe and Chadwick Boseman specifically, where I went real deep on them, yo. It was crazy, the connections I was connecting in that video. I'm gonna put it in the link below. I want y'all to check that out. But anyway, Philadelphia, where Kobe's from, and from South Carolina, where Chadwick Boseman from, Anderson. Hint 664 is 664 miles apart, right? You see that? It's 64 and 60. It's 664 miles apart. My fault. And John 6:64. But there are some of you that believe not, for Yahushua knew from the beginning who they were that believed not, and who should betray him. You know what I mean? And the whole thing, when you understand it, remember I was already going back to the bubble. Remember that. And the whole theme of what? About those who he has the key of David through the church of Philadelphia, shall open and none shall shut, and shut and none shall open. Hint this all coming together. Kobe with the key. All great blasphemy. You see that. But when you go to Kobe, remember he had the Nike deal. Remember, this is about to prove my point about the betraying. Remember they said that Kobe's Nike deal obviously expired this year. And remember they was talking about he had the Nike situation going on allegedly before he dies. Remember, I was talking about that. So when you look at all of this, how all of that connect about the betrayal. And remember, Chadwick Boseman, like I said, is obviously from South Carolina. Kobe is from Philadelphia. Kobe was a Virgo. You feel what I mean? And when you understand the Virgo, remember that's what the belly, the intestine area. When you understand the zodiac, the Virgo it deals with the intestines. So when you understand that, which is so deep about that, remember as it's written, as the Son of Man was in the as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the beast, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Hint the Virgo and Kobe being, fallen allegedly from the sky. You remember that with the helicopter. And then Chadwick Boseman allegedly dying from colon cancer. Hint the intestines, the Virgo. You see that? All of this stuff comes together. You feel me? None of this is by mistake. And what I want to talk about, Cradle to the Grave, to prove my point, going back to that. Cradle to the Grave, remember Cradle to the Grave came out back in 2003. The album for it, the soundtrack came out February 18, 2003. I look back at that. Lakers played against the Jazz, y'all, February 18, 2003. And I think, I forgot how many points Kobe had. I don't know if it's 50. I think that was against Houston. I forgot how many points he had. But against the Jazz, they won by 6. It was 93-87, right? And that was the same day that Cradle to the Grave soundtrack coming out. And remember, I was already breaking down about the Vanessa connection with his daughter, with DMX, and then the Jet Li. And then like with this right here, Kobe and his daughter, being together. And what I want to talk about is obviously all that represented was them trying to say that they stopping the new world, or, they stopping the kingdom like I was talking about earlier. But when you look at this, hint Kobe's last game was against the Jazz. So going back to it, February 18, 2003, Lakers beat the Jazz. February 18, 2003, Cradle to the Grave's album came out, and then Kobe, what do you have? You had Kobe drop 60 on April, back in against the Jazz and back in 2016. You see that? This is crazy, bruh. It's crazy. Hint the movie came out. The movie came out like 6 days later on in 2003, February 24th, 2003. And hint Kobe's memorial obviously was what? February 24th, 2020. Remember that. And hint this right here. This is one of the plane. The movie at the end, remember they was fighting at the plane. The helicopters. I'm going to show y'all in a minute. But you see right there, one of the helicopters got 95:13. When you go to Psalms 95:13, before the face of the Lord, because he cometh, because he cometh to judge the earth. He shall judge the world with justice and the people with his truth. You see that how they got the Kobe being set up, you know, bringing forth the new world order. Those who are down with it, you know, you shall reap, and those who don't, who following the true living God, shall suffer. So you see how they got that set up on there. You see what I'm saying? All blasphemy. Notice the plane when the guy was fighting DMX. Notice why you got 24/7 right there behind DMX when he was fighting the guy, when he was holding his daughter. Hint, Kobe wore number 24. Hint, the guy that was fighting Jet Li when Jet Li beat him up, the helicopter was on fire because he blew. I'm going to show y'all this right quick. Hold on. Let me show you right quick. You see that's Kobe's helicopter? You see that right there? Hold on, let me go back. You see that's Kobe's helicopter, 621? Notice this, bruh. When you reverse the numbers, 126 is the day that Kobe allegedly dies. You see that? There's just no way around this stuff, man. No way around it. And when Jet Li was fighting on there too, you see how you got a man right there wearing number 67? And then when you go to J. Cole, Everybody Dies song, he's wearing 67. You see that? Come on, y'all. Hint, the Wick Airfield, where it all went down, the fighting all went down at Wick Airfield. And you remember how you had Chris Paul was obviously out for game 1, they said, because of what? A protocol. You see that? And when you look at it, you got your boy Kawhi Leonard was out with the knee injury. Remember, I already showed you about the knee earlier, about the whole theme of the let me see. Did I find it? About the whole theme of the knee. Remember when I was talking about the Nebuchadnezzar statue right here, how that represents nothing but the Roman Empire? You see that? And you see this right here. You remember when Joel Embiid got dunked on by John Collins, the clock was stopped at 4:44. I remember when I was already talking about the number 44 represents the Ark of the Covenant. You see that? All of this comes together, man. This is why at the game, this is game 6. No, game 5, I'm sorry. When the Philly lost, hint, Atlanta in quarter number 1 scored 24. And in the second quarter, Philly had 24. Hint, Kobe number 24. You see that? All of this stuff comes together, and there's just no way around it. Like I said, it's all about who got the eyes to see and the ears to hear, man. Everything is just coming to fruition. Everything is coming together. And I'm actually going to end that right here. I really want to just show y'all, you know, an update on what's going on in this rigged storyline. So thank you for watching Hide and Seek TV, y'all. I really appreciate y'all. I got more videos coming. I'm gonna do an NFL. I'm gonna do another NFL. I'm gonna do a UFC. I got more, you know, obviously I got more videos coming, so just stay tuned. Much more is coming, y'all. Peace.